So, Danielle, let's pick up where Gabe left off. Harris has sort of a delicate dance to do right now where she wants to amplify her experience as vice president, but at the same time try to sort of distance herself from aspects of the Biden administration that may be unpopular, right? How does she navigate that?
I mean, I honestly, the parts of the Biden administration that are incredibly popular is the economy, right? This economy that they inherited was in the tank because of Donald Trump.
But why is Donald Trump winning on that issue when you look at the polls and voters?
Well, when we say winning at that issue, it's a narrative that's being pushed by Republicans who benefit from having a Republican in the White House. The country does not. And we see that historically when we look at the numbers. We see that every single Republican president that has come into office runs the economy into the ground. They do provide tax breaks for the billionaires, the ones that are sitting in corporate C-suites and the ones that benefit from them being in office. But when we look at how the people benefit, you see that every time a Democrat gets into office, they're the ones that have the shovel that are digging the country back out. And Joe Biden and Kamala Harris did that very thing after Donald Trump added $7 trillion to our debt in this country. 30 million people were unemployed when Donald Trump was in office. And so you see where our economy is now. It is the envy of the world after climbing out of the global health pandemic. And so, but the Biden-Harris team doesn't have anything to defend. They have everything to celebrate as this vice president is on the campaign trail.
And yet Donald Trump and his allies think it's the opposite. They think they own the issue of the economy. Yesterday, Congressman, when Trump did focus on the economy, which his allies have been begging him to do, he also downplayed the importance of that issue. Watch.
Talking about a thing called the economy. They wanted to do a speech on the economy. A lot of people are very devastated by what's happened with inflation and all of the other things. So we're doing this as a intellectual speech. You're all intellectuals today. Today we're doing it, and we're doing it right now, and it's very important. They say it's the most important subject. I think crime is right there. I think the border is right there, personally. We have a lot of important subjects.
Throughout the speech, he returned to his usual personal attacks, same rhetoric his allies have been trying to get him to move away from. What does that suggest about his mindset and how he thinks he will win this race?
Donald Trump is just a terrible candidate right now, in contrast to Vice President Harris. And take him at his word, though. He wants this to be about crime, about the border, about xenophobia, about race, because that's where he believes the culture wars could really ignite a candidacy that's now in freefall. But this is 2024, not 2016. And if he has any insight to why the economy's not great, Danielle's exactly right. Joe Biden and Vice President Harris today will play offense on the economy. The United States has had a stronger recovery coming out of the pandemic than any country in the world. More people went to work this morning than ever before in U.S. history. Inflation's coming down and real wages are going up. Housing remains at historic highs. Access to health care, investments in infrastructure, access to education, all of the metrics in the United States are great. And remarkably, what we're seeing is the lag on Joe Biden's numbers were really around this personal concern about his age and his fitness. But with that removed, one of the reasons you see Vice President Harris doing so well is because American voters have confidence we are going in the right direction. So this is an issue to play offense on if you're Harris right now. And I think maybe Trump feels that. He also knows nothing's working. The economy's not working for him. Immigration's not working for him. He is a listless candidate right now, unable to prosecute a case against the vice president.
J.D. Vance, his running mate, is on defense again for this conversation that we keep having, that he, has had in the past, these remarks that are surfacing about family and women's roles. Well, Hillary Clinton just tweeted this, quote, "Childless cat ladies, postmenopausal females. Is the Republican ticket aware that women can vote?" Danielle, your reaction?
I don't think that they understand that, because everything that J.D. Vance has said, whether we're pulling out footage from a couple of years ago or listening to him on the campaign trail right now, everything is offensive. There is nothing that he has said good about women, right? So whether he's telling people that they need to quit their jobs, he's telling women that they need to stay home. They want a 19th century role for women in America, and that is just not going to play. And so we're seeing this pushback pushback now because everything that J.D. Vance and Donald Trump offer is negative about women. And guess what? We're more than 50% of the population. And so we will see this at the polls. It's not just about abortion, although that is a huge issue for women and people with uteruses in this country. It is about what role do you see women have? And they don't see one for us. And you can see that in Project 2025 and in the things that come out of their mouth.
And historically, more women have voted on Election Day than men. So that is the majority of the voters. Congressman Vance is in Pennsylvania, and this is a new poll we want to show everybody from that key state. Harris ahead by 3 within the margin of error there. It tracks with the poll we showed yesterday, also had her ahead in Pennsylvania within the margin of error. And if you look deeper at this Quinnipiac poll, the running mates, Walz and Vance, are about tied in terms of favorable views. But look at it when it comes to unfavorable there. Vance is 16 points underwater. Of course, part of the reason he was chosen as Trump's running mate was to help the GOP's chances in states like Pennsylvania. Is he helping?
No. First of all, J.D. Vance is unqualified to be president of the United States. People see that, and that's kind of the only test for a vice presidential pick. But he's also unfit to carry any message to voters, as we've seen from his continued stumbles. He's just unprepared for this moment. It was the wrong pick by Donald Trump, and what they should do is just take a microphone away from him for the next 83 days. Democrats should hope he stays on the trail, because every time J.D. Vance talks, Harris and Walz get a little bump. And I would say this about the numbers in Pennsylvania and everywhere else, Anna. Don't call it a honeymoon. This is not a honeymoon anymore. These numbers are real. Vice President Harris has risen in the polls. She holds the lead. Now, some things could happen. You could have a debate performance that adjusts that. You could have an intervening international event. You could have a Harris stumble. But at this point, Vice President Harris is in a commanding lead, although it's tight, over Donald Trump. Democrats will work this all the way through the finish line, sprinting. There's no reason to take anything for granted. But this isn't a honeymoon anymore. Harris leads this race over Trump.
Former Congressman David Jolly and Danielle Moody, thank you both.